everybody. Welcome to our Mentor Me panel, our career path panel. Today we have with us William, and I'm so excited that you're here.
Hi, I'm Will. I graduated TISB in 2014. I studied computer science at the University of Michigan through the College of Engineering. I got a minor in math. Right now, I live and work in San Francisco, and I work on distributed cloud computing problems at Salesforce. I'm currently living abroad in Albania during pandemic.
Cool. Interesting.
But normally San Francisco. So I am a software engineer, and in college I really liked my operating systems and networking classes. So I ended up finding a job where I work on distributed control systems. So I write code that runs control systems across hundreds of thousands of servers to operate customer app code. Yeah, so what does a normal day look like for me? So usually I wake up at 7, I go rock climbing or I go for a run, usually with someone else from TISB actually. And then I'll ride my bike, I walk to work, and I start work at 10:30, get coffee with a coworker. I have about an hour of meetings. Then I have 7 to 8 hours of heads down coding time. Yeah, and that usually involves a few coffee chats with coworkers, and after that, I'm free about 7 p.m. when I get into night activities. So maybe that's dates, maybe that's going to the gym, maybe that's playing video games. I don't know if the requirements have changed. I think that the best thing that you can do is still go out and get a 4-year computer science degree. And maybe the second best thing is to go to a coding boot camp or to get a master's degree or just take a few classes and understand how to program pretty well. Typically, the core requirement that they look for in software engineer interviews is that you can code. They typically care less about your background. That said, again, if you have a background that is allowing you to get a lot of practice coding, like in computer science, then you're well set up for it. In terms of the industry itself, it gets bigger every year. Even in pandemic, I've never had issues hunting for jobs or anything like that. My advice for that is typically just take a lot of classes, go wide and get weird. Some of the most successful people were just taking classes that they should not have been. Everyone knows J.R.R. Tolkien. I forget what he was studying at Oxford, but he just wandered in the back of the library one day and was looking at books about other languages. And that's when he started to write Lord of the Rings. So you never know. I really like computer science because it gives me the ability to jump through different fields. So, for example, I'm really interested in bio, and when I came into college, I was originally planning to be a pre-med. But I decided that was not the life I wanted for me. And I moved into computer science. But I can still go into biotech, or I can still work on genetics technology, because every single field needs computer scientists. So I came into Michigan and I really wanted to be a pre-med. And then I learned more about what that meant and what it meant to be a doctor. And I decided that that was not what I wanted to do. So I switched out of pre-med and I thought math was what I wanted. And it turns out math is definitely not what I want. And then I found computer science and I transferred to the College of Engineering in Michigan. I had a really easy time. That said, your mileage may vary. If you maintain whatever a 4.0 or at least a 3.5 or a 3.7, it's definitely much easier to switch your major. The lower your GPA gets, the more difficult it might be, and also the more dissimilar the class types are, the more difficult it will be to switch your major. If you just do lots of life sciences or you go really deep in psych for 2 years, it's going to be very hard to switch into a very math-heavy engineering degree. Oh, I mean, personally, I think you shouldn't pick your major in high school. I think it changes for every single person I know. I mean, I would say just get a major or try to choose for skills that are transferable. So like good uh, reading comprehension skills, whether that be like in English, or good quantitative skills, whether that be through math and sciences. Those skills will be valuable everywhere. Yeah, I would say that the best thing that I got from high school that enabled me to go on to be successful in engineering was resiliency. Uh, I think in IB, there's a lot of days where you get assigned like something due an extended essay, and then the following day you find out you have like a test in chem, and that test in chem lines up on the same day as a test in bio, and you've got like some English paper that's due, and it's going to go on your final IB score. Um, and like just deadlines pile up quick, and they are never forgiving. And your teachers strongly believe in tough love, to say the least. Yeah, and there's just a lot of days where like you just need to like keep your head down and
Yeah.
stay in the ring and keep throwing punches. And I think that like just learning to stick with it and be strong through IB um, was kind of the most impactful thing to being successful as an engineer. Where you would you will fail, you will struggle, and you need to learn how to get through it. I think fundamentally in all of your post college jobs, a really crucial thing is just like teamwork. And the most crucial decisions you can make are deciding how to invest in your team and collaboration and networking kind of across your company and through your industry. Those are the most impactful decisions. I guess like maybe the most agency I have, or like most agency I have is over technical decisions. Like what should the architecture of this app be, or um, is this good code? You spend a lot of time reviewing technical products or the output of your peers. Yeah, I mean, I think the best thing that you can do for yourself is go wide and get weird. That's advice that I got during both of my internships.
Mhm.
So I ended up joining the boxing team at Michigan, um, and that really tested how resilient I could be, to say the least. Uh, that was a really formative experience for me. And then I just took classes that I don't think that uh, I normally would have belonged in. So I tried to get into like some upper level philosophy classes. I took law and philosophy at Michigan, which I thought was a wonderful class, just about like the philosophy of like Supreme Court decisions and Roe v. Wade and Loving v. Ferguson and other really impactful um, legislature that's been passed in the U.S. Um, yeah, I mean, you can take computer science classes all day long if you want, but it's not super useful if you don't have like a knowledge base to apply computer science to. So that's generally how I thought about taking classes.
Yeah.
Personally, as an undergraduate, based on what I've seen in my experiences, the quality of research is something that maybe you shouldn't be concerned about. The quality of teaching is kind of what is going to matter for you. And honestly, it depends. Like, I would not say that if you have the option to go to a bigger school and it's better, um, if you are not a big school person, you should not go there. It's you want to go to you want to set yourself in a you want to set yourself up in an environment where you're going to succeed. Um, so whether that means like small class sizes for you, or whether that means that you're cool getting lost at the back of lecture, and you're totally ready to like duke it out on the curve. It really depends. So I mean, like things like the weather are really impactful. Um, yeah, I mean that said, companies typically do have like bands of universities that they will allocate a certain amount of interviewing time to. So like the best school for computer science is like Carnegie Mellon, right? So if you go to Carnegie Mellon, it's much easier to get an interview at a different company. Um, and to your point, like if you go to a smaller school or a different school, it's still possible to get that interview, but you're gonna have to find a different way to get your foot in the door. So whether that be through like side projects or like going out and doing research of your own or starting your own startup, like It's just not going to happen as automatically as it might happen at a top tier institution. If I were to go back and figure out that I wanted to be a software engineer and I knew that in high school, um, I would like just don't worry about research. That's like you're gonna need like a decade of math to catch up in computer science. What I would be worried about is just writing code. Like go out, write code that you feel passionate about. Like build an app that is a Tetris clone, build a Twitter clone in Ruby. Um, just go out and write code. That's literally all we look for in software engineering interviews. And when I interview interns, um, it shows which ones have spent their time writing code and which ones, copied their code from someone else for their class projects. Um, yeah, just there's so many great resources and languages. Just like type in learn JavaScript, and there's going to be 100 different side projects, and there's no coding language that isn't applicable. All good experience is good experience, really. Yeah, I mean, as always, I would say do what you're going to be good at and figure out how to leverage that into doing what you want to do. Leverage the skills you have to be very good at something, is what I would say. Um, Now, if you want to choose like a multidisciplinary major, like CS Cog Sci, like you said, um, it all depends. Like CS Cog Sci is great for people who want to be designers, and if you just do CS Cog Sci, you could be a really good designer. Um, that said, if you're in interviews where you're competing with people who have like done only CS, you may find yourself needing a little bit of extra practice. Like maybe you didn't take the advanced algorithms classes that they took or the databases classes that they took. So again, the deciding factor is like who spent time coding. So just working on side projects, working on startups with your friends, all of those things. Anything that gets you good experience writing code is valid. I had friends who got math degrees or got French degrees or got like foreign policy degrees, and they coded their way through all 4 years and applied to be software engineers, and they're
Yeah.
great coworkers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a software engineer is pretty great, honestly. A lot of like the grind and the mental health you pay in college. Like college is definitely really hard on people who choose engineering degrees. It's relentless, and there's a huge imposter syndrome, and your peers constantly feel like they are grinding while you're asleep, which is very difficult. But for software engineering itself, like I love my job. I mean, I work 8 to 9 hours a day. The pay is great. I can work whenever I want. So a lot of times, like I'll work for a few hours in the morning, and then I'll go ride my bike for 3 hours, 4 hours in the middle of the day, and then come back and continue working.
Yeah.
My company gives wellness days. I can expense a therapist. Um, there's like, I mean, I'm living in Albania right now, and they're totally cool with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no complaints about like how my job treats my mental health. Um, I worked on a fully distributed team before COVID. Um, so like I might go into the office, but my entire team was just distributed. I would talk to my coworkers every day over Google Hangouts, and we would spend all day on Slack, just talking about requirements and things. The biggest change pre and post COVID is really just like how well I can go to conferences, um, and like fly to different locations to spend time with coworkers. Yeah, I mean, for software engineers, like you're making a virtual product, and so it's very easy to send virtual product over the internet. And as long as I have a good internet connection, my job is pretty much the same. It's just it's the human element that has really gone through a loop. So I actually did 2 internships at this company before I joined full time. Um, so it's been a little while since I've interviewed here specifically, but just generally, the hardest part about getting a job as a new grad in software engineering is that it's really competitive. let me give you an example. So like, I was interviewing at like a defense contractor, and for that interview day, there was either one or zero spots open. There were really like very, very few spots open. And I ate lunch with like 30 other like students who were also interviewing for full-time jobs. Um, and like it was like 3 or 4 or 5 hours of like algorithms interviews where they give you a problem and then you whiteboard it out, and then you have to debate that problem in front of like professional software engineers. um, it's like a super stressful and like nerve-wracking process. The industry is like thankfully starting to move away from that, but I can't say that it'll be any different in 2 years. Yeah, so just coming back to it, the hardest part is just how hard they grill you in the interviews,
Mhm.
um, which means that you have to spend a lot of time practicing algorithms problems on like HackerRank or LeetCode. Um, the most impactful classes I took for that were my data structures and algorithms classes, operating systems, uh, networking. Yeah, and I mean, most CS classes, I mean, will kind of cover a lot of it. So like even the machine learning classes I took sometimes applied. Yeah. So if you want to wear flip-flops and like board shorts to work and show up at like 11 a.m. and leave at 4 p.m., you should probably find a job like at the most tech company you can in like Silicon Valley or San Francisco. Um, there's all tech is a huge industry, so like that ranges from like financial tech firms like Citadel to enterprise software firms like Salesforce. So it's hard to say like this is the culture, right? It's very case by case. It helps sometimes to like look at incentives, like are these employees being paid mostly in equity? Are they being paid mostly in cash? Like at a company like Amazon, where they're making billions of dollars a year, um, how much impact does each employee have on the bottom line is maybe a question that's worth asking. Um, yeah, it really varies, and typically as part of your interview process, or they will bring you on site and you get to talk to the team and have lunch with the team. Um, earlier than that, I think each college or each like CS program typically has ways that you can tour offices in your area. Um, so like I think in Michigan, they would take you to like tours like some Google offices. They would take you to tour like the Duo offices, and maybe some other companies. Yeah, I would just reiterate on the idea that like you should just go wide and get weird, see what you are good at, see what like you have like a natural ability to do, and then try to figure out how you can leverage that.
Yeah.